Over the last 25 years, I've had the privilege of interviewing and highlighting some truly interesting people. Everyone who is anyone, both the famous and the infamous, from presidents and their first ladies to kings and queens, movie stars and pop stars, captains of industry, heads of state, sports personalities, innovative entrepreneurs, and some pretty fascinating everyday people. Today, I'd like to introduce you to Vito Guarino, a law enforcement expert who says the key to his success is discipline and dedication, as well as an overall passion to protect and serve the public. Mr. Guarino, it's such a pleasure to meet you. Having been a prosecutor very early in my career, I understand that pull towards law enforcement and public service. But when did you first decide to become involved in this legal sector?
I guess it was in my sophomore year of college. I went to Moravian College in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I took a few criminal justice courses, and they were really interesting to me. And on another note, I had a side of my family that were involved with policing and police officers. So it wasn't that I wanted to follow in someone's tradition. It just sparked an interest for me. And then when I graduated college, I had the opportunity to join the Essex County Police Department in Essex County, New Jersey, working in Newark, New Jersey.
And I think you know, but I am a part-time Jersey girl. I was raised in southern New Jersey, Mercer County in Trenton, New Jersey. And so I am very familiar with that area. You moved your career from working for someone to working for yourself in creating the MPM group. Tell me what the mission of MPM is and what service does it actually provide?
Well, the MPM group, or let's call it a firm, is a comprehensive state-of-the-art litigation firm. We handle all type of investigations. We also handle defense counseling, prison counseling for those going to prison, as well as international and national law enforcement training. We have a wide reach. We're made up of a majority of retired federal agents and former police officers, and we span the United States as well as the world. It's kind of like a one-stop shopping from A to Z, whether it's a divorce case, a defense criminal case, or training in somewhere in Europe or Africa. We're a company that can handle those type of jobs.
So that the audience is aware of your credentials for being able to do such a variety of things. Tell me a little bit about your background as a law enforcement officer.
Well, let's go back to Newark, New Jersey. You're familiar with the area. I was, a city kid in Newark, New Jersey. I graduated college. I went on the police department, and I did 8 weeks in the field. And being I was young, they told me, grow your hair out, put an earring, and go start buying some dope in the projects. So I got involved with that type of narcotic investigation, led me to go into the detective bureau, and then I started working a few jobs with the Drug Enforcement Administration.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I understand that your work actually helped prevent a vast quantity of illegal drugs from crossing the U.S. border. That is such a big issue in our country right now. Tell me a little bit more about that work.
I'll take you back to the mid 1980s. Let's call it, the cocaine wars, or Miami Johnson. I immediately after graduating the academy, I went to Miami, and once, like I said, even though I was a city kid, I was thrown into Miami. Tons of cocaine crossing the U.S. border, airplanes of dope coming up there. If you remember that Miami Vice era, money flowing around. Immediately, once again, I think a lot of it was my personality. They put me in an undercover business where I had access to airplanes. I drove the Mercedes. I had the long hair, and I mixed with the dopers. And what my job was, or DEA's job, but specifically my undercover role, was to provide transportation of multi-hundred kilograms of cocaine coming from Colombia into the United States, eventually taking down the distributors that were in the United States, taking it from Colombia to the U.S. and to take it down as a deterrent.
And undercover work is an extremely dangerous work, obviously. What motivates you, sir, to push forward each day in such dangerous lines of work? Because you have taken that work in undercover and then moved it around the world.
Well, once again, I think it has to do with service. You believe that, this is the service that you have to provide. I think my personality sort of opened me up to that, where I kind of mixed well with that element. Being from, like you said, like I said, being from the city, you kind of rubbed elbows with those type of people. So I didn't have a fear factor. It was more like accomplishing the job. And I think a lot of the training prepared me for that, as well as being, working the inner city in Newark, New Jersey.
Mr. Guarino, it sounds like you're saying if it's a job worth doing, you need to do it well and you need to apply yourself as strongly as possible.
Yeah, that's 100%. It's kind of like getting the script. Here's what you do. Here's what the dopers do, and let's go out and get them. It's something that had to be done, and it still has to be done. Just like the crisis now we're facing in America with drugs. Drugs use and abuse is never going to go away. But what we want to provide to the public, or what we wanted to in my law enforcement career, is to try and give at least a safe haven and let society know we're doing something to deter the flow of drugs in the U.S. On the other side of the coin, which we all know, we also need, helping those that are addicted to drugs. But there's a big difference between a drug user and a drug trafficker.
Yes, sir.
And, if I have a public service announcement, I think that's where society gets blurry. In law enforcement, and possibly in your former career, you realize that. But there's a huge difference. I always say, and I have relatives, I lost relatives with drug use. There's two sides to this coin: law enforcement and treatment. And both have to be, pushed forward. And that's still my heart and soul, in law enforcement.
And speaking of heart and soul, I understand that your public service extends not just in the law enforcement area, but in the community service area. Can you share with me some of the ways you like to give back to others that are outside of law enforcement?
Yeah, what I do is I also provide, besides the training, I actually provide the words I provide myself, whether it's in the school and go into the schools and present a realistic view to students of the dangers of drug use. I'm not blind to the fact that individuals are out there and drugs are available. But I think the student needs to hear that, it's not like the drugs of the 60s, 70s, 80s. You have fentanyl out there. You have some of these opioids that are highly addictive, that one pill or taking even marijuana laced with fentanyl could lose your life. So I do that. I'm active in my church as well, services. And I also am involved with a program at my college where we try and guide seniors that are graduating, assist them in resume building, assist them in interview techniques, and basically give them a general guidance. We have a cadre of alumni, whatever profession they're looking to go into, to have a phone call or a Zoom call to give them some guidance to the future of what they could look forward to as they graduate.
And speaking of future, what are your plans for the future? What are you looking forward to in your next chapter?
Well, I'm going to continue with the MPM group. I'm the chief operating officer. I find it very engaging. I find it very rewarding. So I'm going to continue with my private work here, assisting, defense work or any other work that comes up, as well as staying active in my community. So I'm too active to retire. I don't see quote retirement coming up. I retire to another job. That's how I look at it, and it's still satisfying. It's very satisfying when you give of yourself, and when you give of from your heart. There's an internal reward because you're not wanting to receive something back. You feel that you still have a value, that you value, and you have things that you could provide to people that will benefit them. That's
Absolutely.
my reward.
One of my very favorite quotes comes from the late Princess Diana, who in talking about service to others, saying just random acts of service without an expectation of getting something back is true service. And so I thank you for the kinds of work that you're doing. Sir, in closing, what's the one thing you'd like a viewer of this video feature to walk away with today?
I want them to walk away with that, I represent them. You may look at me and say, wow, what a career. You went all over the globe. You did this, you did and that. But the point was, everyone has a pathway that could be special, whether it's a carpenter, whether it's a mason, whether it's a janitor, a school teacher, a doctor, a lawyer. When I walk away with that, you are valuable and you do contribute, that you have things to contribute to society, that everyone is important. That's what I'd like
Absolutely.
them to leave with.
Everyone has a role to play, and it's important that we all play our role. That's how society grows, and that's how it gets better. Mr. Guarino, thank you so much for your time today. I wish you the very best with the MPM group and all of the things that you are working towards. Have a great day, sir.
Thank you. You too.